All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And, there's a lot of measurable quantifiers. There's a lot of rites of passage in life in which you've made it. In acting, when you get an Oscar, you've made it. Supposedly in social media, once you get past 10,000 followers, you're now an influencer, and so on and so forth. I submit that you're not really something in politics until there is indeed a coffee book, a coffee table book made about you. And we get sent all kinds of cool and crazy Yang stuff. But this one definitely piqued our interest and caught our attention because somebody has designed an Andrew Yang campaign coffee table book. And it's actually pretty cool. Cody, show us what's going on.
Anyway, this is a friend of the show, Chris Guitre, I believe. I pronounce his last name. I apologize. Put together something very interesting here. And we've been talking a lot, I would say, over the last week especially. We've been talking a lot about the Andrew Yang campaign and kind of where it started, where it is now. We did a video just yesterday, but he has 1 million followers on Twitter now, and how when he started this campaign, he had like single digits and thousands, like 4,000 or 5,000. Yeah. We went through a New York Times article. They were talking about in 2018, he tried doing a fundraiser on New Year's Eve, and not only did the event lose him money, someone actually asked for their money back on top of it. It was such a disaster. And
he said it wasn't a fundraiser, but a fund loser.
Yeah, and again, this was a open bar party in Manhattan on New Year's Eve, and he couldn't turn a profit. I mean, maybe the bar was too open. I don't know. Anyway, from that to, I asked people in the comments, I'd comment what you think, and people were like, I would definitely go to any Manhattan New Year's Eve free drink or open bar party with Andrew Yang. So anyway, put together, because like I said, our friend put together a book highlighting some of the biggest moments of the campaign. Now, I'm going to run all the video running here for a second, so you guys can get a look at it. Just a little background. First of all, like I said, I've spoken with Chris many times. Good guy. All the proceeds are going to go to either Yang volunteers that will help him put stuff like this together, and mainly the Yang 2020 campaign. That's the biggest thing. So this is just another fundraising outlet for the Yang Gang, which is, I think, one of the very cool things about the Yang Gang I kind of wanted to highlight in this video is Andrew Yang supporters of all kinds are finding every single way to support Andrew Yang. I mean, there's a game, there's the Samantha Bee app where you can answer questions or donate to the Samantha Bee app, and the winning candidate gets all the money at the end of the year. Beginning of 2020. Yang Gang took that over. They went from bottom to first immediately. Anything. I believe it was our friend Brooke who called in, right? And she said, I know if anything the Yang Gang, any goals,
Twitch subs?
Yeah, but any goals, they'll blow right through it. And it's true. So I thought it'd be fun to go through what's going to be in the book really quickly. I'll have the links so you guys can get it, because you'll notice it's not quite funded yet. And another interesting thing, when the Yang Gang puts their mind to things, it gets done. With 5 days left, and it's about 50% funded, I don't know. I have a feeling it'll just get funded because that's the Yang Gang and how things work. Anyway, though, let's go through some of the stuff. So, again, who's behind the campaign? It's Chris, originally from California, moved to Las Vegas, in Las Vegas, Nevada, a little known place. Anyway, he goes through as a communications expert, follower of Yang, and he's been working with the Yang volunteers for a while. We're actually going to be hanging out with him, I believe. It's coming up this weekend at the event. Check out our previous video for more info about that. Anyway, so it's going to be a hardcover book, 17 by 11, glossed, dust jacketed, 135 LB text. I believe that refers to the
I don't know what that means.
I believe it means the ink's good. 80 spreads, so 160 full-size pages, and awesome. So Math is a stylish coffee table book that holds all of the milestones Andrew Yang has met in his campaign trail for the U.S. presidency. By purchasing a book, you are making a contribution directly to the Andrew Yang campaign and receiving a memento of Yang's candidacy for presidency in 2020. And again, that's the big thing I want to highlight here, is that this is, again, another... We're almost running out of ways for the Yang Gang to motivate people to help give money to the campaign. We're almost running out.
Yeah.
I don't know what's next. Think about it. We're months past using your Twitch Prime subs to fund a sky banner that flies around Los Angeles. We're months past that. Yeah. Right. So what's coming up next? Here's another thing. So we go through here, and I want to get some of the stuff. I love how they include. This is a great one. Yang files with FEC to run for president. When did he file?
Oh, man, it was eons ago. Wasn't it like 18 months ago?
November 6th, 2017, man. This is less than a calendar year after Trump was elected, I believe, right? It was the 8th of November 16. So less than a calendar year after the presidential election elected Trump, Yang filed. Again, at this point, he had maybe a couple thousand.
So all of November 18, we're basically almost in November 19.
Yeah. No, think about it. All of November 17, all of December 17, all of 2018, and now almost all of 2019. So we've come.
Wow.
That's how long he's been running. However, when did his campaign really take off and explode? Yang appears in the Joe Rogan podcast commercials. But again, that's over a year. It's like 13 months, 14 months, 15 months, 14 months after he decided to run for presidency. It was going, I don't want to say nowhere, but it was the struggle was real. And then he goes on Joe Rogan. There's actually a funny story from a New York Times article. I have it pulled up over here in a second, where the person who now considers himself the funds director for the campaign said that up until the Joe Rogan appearance, they had so little funds, they hadn't designated a role for anyone to manage them. Like, I think everyone was pretty aware of the no money they had, basically. And then after this is when everything blew up. So that was cool. And then we get to if I would say there was a seminal moment that really kickstarted the Yang 2020 campaign. Joe Rogan was nice, but it was on Problem Solving Politics. He made that first video. So shout out to our friend Chris for including us in the book.
Hey, what pic did he put in there?
I think from the first video. Oh, no, it's more recent. Video.
And he's got it in order. Joe Rogan can be one paragraph above us. Fine.
Yeah. He beat us by. You'll notice that the Rogan, it was like literally like maybe like 3 weeks later we did our first one. Anyway,
what picture did he use?
Man, I'm not going to get to us because then we get into some of the really big moves. Again, it's important to remember. This is like 16 months after Yang announced he was running for president. He brings on Steve Marchand as his campaign advisor. And like I said, that was probably that first domino falling of like, because again, we talk a lot about Zach Grauman. He has no real political background. I think he had nonprofit background, fundraising backgrounds. He wasn't
he was on Wall Street, he said.
Yeah, but again, he's not a politician. None of these people had any. Now, Steve was one of the first, I think, real political former mayor of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and he ran twice for the governor's seat there, so he knows the state of New Hampshire. He knows the political scene in New Hampshire. No flame, but I believe Joe Biden's Iowa campaign director doesn't live in Iowa and hasn't ran a campaign there in like a decade. So it means something to have someone who's from the state, and I think it's one of the reasons why Yang's doing well in New Hampshire. And then we have the Elon Musk endorsement in here. We have the MC Jin releases his 8 Mile song, which is great, and then it goes through. So they have all the different options you can use to support it. Just some pictures of what the completed book will look like. So obviously the book itself is very cool. Donating to Andrew Yang, people are always looking for new ways to give to the campaign because some people max out contributions. Well, at least you get
something out of this, you know?
Well, also, if you max out your contributions, there's a way around that. One, that's how these things work. Two, the other thing that I kind of really want to show about this, though, is it really is, I think, I don't, it's easy to take things for granted when you're in the midst of them, but it truly is amazing what this Yang movement's been. Because think about it. There actually wasn't a Yang movement until roughly this point.
Yeah.
But there was an Andrew Yang campaign at this point, man. There was an Andrew Yang campaign the entirety of 2018 when a relatively small amount of people were paying attention. And he kept going. And I think it's like I said, it's going to be one of those things where we're going to be like, oh, and he just went on Joe Rogan and got popular in a little while. But it is really important to remember, like, no, he didn't, man. He spent a year basically getting nowhere. There's that really funny video I pulled up from November of 18, I believe it was. He was in Baltimore giving this really kind of awkward proto-stump speech, like what a stump speech would become. No. And it's like, bro, murderous. But it's like, why are you in Baltimore, man? When do they vote? When is the Baltimore, or when is the Maryland
voting
primary?
For you.
No, but when's the primary there? It's after New Hampshire, Iowa. It's where where the real candidates campaign is: Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and the Carolinas, because that's where the voters are voting soon. And you'll notice how we transitioned from this, I guess I'm running for president guy, to a legit contender and a serious thing. And I don't know, man. Like, it's just, it really is. I still have my math hat that I bought. Of course I'll have it, but I bought my math hat at the April 2018 rally. So it actually would be right around just after this, just in between these two events is when I bought it. And honestly, when I bought that math hat, we were still mostly covering Yang as a interest thing. Like, I'm interested in him. And I still bought it because I was like, once I got there and kind of saw it was, I'm like, this is a thing. Like, this is gonna be a thing. This isn't gonna be 8 years from now. Oh yeah, what? Who ran? Like,
remember that rally we went to?
Who did? Oh my God, Mitt Romney beat in the primary.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Was it Newt Gingrich? I don't remember. Point being, I think the Yang Gang and the Yang 2020 movement is going to be something that, like, political people, like, I think people who run campaigns are going to be looking very heavily at this in 4 years and saying, regardless of what happens in 2024, people are going to say, how did this Yang guy do that in 2020?
Yeah.
And I just think having a piece of that is so cool. So again, just want to give a shout out to our friend here and his project. Again, this is to raise money for the Yang campaign primarily. This is a great way to contribute to the campaign. Also, it's just a great way to kind of own a little bit. I don't want to say own a piece of history yet. It's maybe a little bit own a piece of history, but it's a really cool way to just kind of commemorate this crazy movement. And the reason why I want to show this picture at the end right here, it's kind of small. See if I can make the picture a little bit bigger for you guys. Is if you look kind of closely in this picture, you'll notice, like I said, man, see the t-shirt gentleman's wearing here with the Yang Boba t-shirt? Again, that's from the Yang gang. That's not Andrew Yang's campaign didn't make this. I got this hat right here. I keep it right here. Our friend the Yang Australian put this together for us.
The Yang Australian.
Not an official math hat. It's a really cool one though, and the Yang gang put together. Yeah. My point being, man, the Yang gang finds it's almost like what's the Jeff Goldblum quote from Jurassic Park. Life will find a way.
Yeah,
it's like Yang gang finds a way, man. Yang gang finds a way. So again, I just want to give a shout out to our friend here. Really cool idea. Really great way to not only help fund the Yang 2020 campaign, which people are always looking for additional ways to do, but it's a really great way to just kind of. I don't want to say it'll be like a yearbook, but anyone who's been going to all these Yang events for the last few months across the country, I've only been able to make it to a few in Los Angeles, and every time I make it to another one in Los Angeles, it's weird. Like, oh, you start recognizing everyone. Like, this is starting to become a really cool movement, and I don't know, man. I definitely do think a piece of that movement is not something that people are going to. I don't want to equate it too much, but
I'm glad you did 5 years from now.
I know people in 2016 who bought MAGA hats, not because they supported Donald Trump, just because they recognized, like, this is something. Yeah,
that's part of the movement.
This is not even like just something crazy is happening in this country, and they kind of want a memento. I would say this might be hopefully a more positive memento for some.
I remember when I saw my first MAGA hat. I saw one in my town, even though we're supposedly so Republican. Everybody was afraid. And I remember I saw this guy was wearing. I was like, oh, holy smoke, that guy's brave.
Well, hold on. I think you're editorializing. You said they're afraid. Perhaps they just didn't want to wear a hat.
Okay, fine.
No offense to Andrew. I don't wear my math hat in public all the time. You want to know why?
Because you don't wear hats.
Yeah, I don't wear hats. That's why. I own one. It's in my house. I just don't wear them in public. I don't wear hats.
Man. Like I'm always in hats.
I wore this. You know what? A little funny aside, though. Again, shout out to our friend the Australian for these hats. I wore this hat once recently. Again, I just don't wear hats generally, but every now and then I'll wear a math hat for it. And every time I wear a math hat, I interact with like two people in public, and they both know Andrew.
See, man, I don't have that same experience.
There's a guy next to me at the bar. He literally looks over to me, and I wasn't even looking at him. He was like, "Oh, dude, Yang, what's up?" I'm like, "What's up?" I'm like, "Oh, what's up, man?" Like, I was just minding my own business. Every time I wear my Yang, people notice. So
now I only got one shout out.
I think this would be the same thing like a year from now, right? Where people come over to your house, or you have this new coffee table. People walk by and be like, "Oh, cool! I remember that Yang guy. Yang, what was that all about?" Or hopefully it's, the president? That's weird. Where did you get this?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, I got this when he was running for president. Really? Yeah, I bought this when he's candidate.
And then you'd be able to even say, and I'm in the book.
Well, but still, I don't know. We went kind of long on this, but I just thought it was a good time to talk about this because this article really sparked, this article on Yang hitting 1 million
By the way,
followers.
do you know what other random bragging rights this guy has also single-handedly achieved without knowing it?
No.
Forever in polite conversation, if anybody references Andrew Yang, he will be the authority. Why? Because I wrote the book on Andrew Yang.
Not quite. It's not quite what that. It's not quite what that statement means. But like I said, this article came out from the New York Times, and it really, really showed this little anecdote. I read this in the last video, but this is why I want to read this again. It's quick little paragraphs. That Andrew Yang arrived for the first New Hampshire event of his presidential campaign in a Subaru with a dented fender. It was the spring of 2018. By the way, he filed for president, and then it took him 6 months to make it to New Hampshire. He and 3 staff members had taken his car to Concord, where they were hoping a few dozen voters would be waiting for them at a coffee shop. Inside, they found one. She listened politely while Mr. Yang explained universal basic income, though she was mostly focused on her coffee. 19 months later and $7 million later, Democratic candidate punctuated his 22nd trip to this early voting state on Friday by filing paperwork in the New Hampshire State House. And if they have a picture here, this is what it looked like. So again, what has happened in the last year and a half or so has actually been really amazing politically for Andrew Yang. People could say Trump had no experience running for president. Yes, but he was a globally famous billionaire. It's not the same. Nobody knew who, legitimately no one. Okay. What's the, oh my God. Not a lot of people knew about the guy. Now he's basically 5th place for his presidential run. And I definitely think it's a cool thing. And a lot of people own math hats. I own math hats. A lot of people own the buttons. A lot of people like myself got burned. Oh, is this the wrong one? Where is it? Got burned and missed out on this awesome mug for commemorating his one. I want that mug, man. I got burned and missed out on it. But don't miss out on this, man. I think it's really cool to have a copy of this book on your coffee table. It's I don't know, man. I think this was I was playing it's a little bit nerdy. I was playing a video game the other day, a few months ago. I thought it was really well put together. Every game is about you saving the world, but this game did a good enough job justifying why that world was important. I think obviously everyone wants Yang to win. Everyone wants something to hold from the Yang stuff, right? But I think this support from Andrew Yang proves why it's an important movement. Because people care. A lot of people run for president, no one cares. People care here, man. That's all I gotta say.
Yep. So anyway, there's going to be a link to this in the description.
All in the description. Check the script for you.
If this whets your literary appetite, or you just like, cool, big, huge books to show off on your coffee table, great candidate right here. Also supports the campaign if you want to be able to further assist your fellow Yang gangers. You got options. If you haven't had a chance, please like this video. Please subscribe. Also, if you want to contribute to the channel, there's going also to be a PayPal link in the description. And you can hang out with us on Tuesdays and Thursdays when we live stream on Twitch and on our second streaming channel that we will be starting here shortly. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video.